Hey everyone, Chang here. This is the practice problem video series. For today's problem, we have this right here. F of x equals x minus 3 cubed over x minus 2 squared. What is the domain? Now, when we see a problem like this, especially with exponent, our first instinct might be to let's distribute everything, multiply it all out, and work from there. Actually, that makes our lives a lot more difficult with this problem specifically, and probably other ones that are very similar to it. Now, first and foremost, what is it asking? What is a domain? Well, we got to remember what a domain is. Domain is all possible inputs. Okay? Now, in terms of a function, what it's saying is that all the numbers that you could put in this place of x where it ends up being substituted into this function itself, that makes this true. Now, all possible inputs. Actually, that's just asking a sort of a different question, or one that, from my experience, is one that's more relevant when asking about domain. Basically, what you should be asking every time you're encountering a domain and range question is, what does not work? Just from my experience dealing with problems like this, a majority of the time, the range of domain is so numerous. There's so many possible numbers that it just makes no sense. It only makes sense to ask basically what doesn't work, so that the remainder of what actually works is just the domain and the range. So in this case, since it's asking for what is the domain, basically what's all the possible input, you should ask yourself, what cannot be in here that would make this basically false? Doesn't work. Now, the only thing in this case in math that you really can't do is, well, divide by 0, right? That's the big thing. So in this case, if we have a fraction, we have the top and bottom, and we never ever want to divide by 0, what doesn't work is if this bottom becomes 0. That's why I said if you distribute and you multiply everything, then it just becomes more difficult. Because when you look at here, ignoring the square, just inside here, what would make this 0? Well, the only number that x can be that would make this 0 is just basically 2. So we know that x cannot equal 2. Anything else? No, right? Because any number you put in here, it'll still just be a number. The top will still be a number. It could be 0, that's fine, on top, but the bottom cannot. So top could be any number, bottom could be any number, except for 2. Because if it's 2, then you're dividing by 0. So in this case, what is the domain? Well, the domain is all possible numbers except for 1. And you guys guessed it, except for 2, right? So all possible number except for x equals 2. Now, usually a notation, they would probably say x, and then they have like a separation, and then with x not equal to, or some of them might say all x, or they use this little squiggly thing just to represent that x could be all number except for x equal to.